Want three? Welcome to The Thought Criminals with your co-host, Ralph Benko, regular contributor to Newsmax, and me, regular contributor to Townhall, Rachel Alexander. And you can find us now. We have a new site on the web. It's on the lam, that's L-A-M, from thethoughtpolice.blogger.com. And you know Ralph, he is the chairman of the Capitalist League, co-author of the Capitalist Manifesto, and co-owner of the 180,000 Facebook group, Capitalist League. And today we're gonna discuss an article I had about Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich, who is suing the Biden administration over vaccine mandates again. And this time he's suing it over the unconstitutional imposition of a vaccine mandate on private employers. And then we'll move on to Ralph's article, which is basically how the Democrats are calculating probably wrong in 2022 by moving more progressive. So to begin with my article, basically Brnovich, who, if you've been watching this show for a while, you know that I have known him for over 21 years. And he has zealously gone after election integrity and other things too. I mean, he sued the Biden administration multiple times, not just over the elections, but now he's suing over the unconstitutional mandate on private employers to vaccinate their employees. And he points out things like President Biden himself said in July that it is not the federal government's responsibility to institute vaccine mandates. Brnovich said that it comes down to freedom. He cites Supreme Court law, which said it should be up to states if they want to, force vaccine mandates on people. Trying to go through and use OSHA to institute these vaccine mandates was very sneaky. It looks like the Supreme Court's probably going to end up siding with him against these mandates, and we hope it's fast, because I literally have friends telling me every day they've already lost their job. They're already being terminated. What's going to happen to all these thousands and thousands of Americans? So anyway, Ralph, you've met Brnovich. What do you have to say about this?
This is legally brilliant. He's found the Achilles heel. OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is attempting to set, according to your article in the Arizona, was it Sun-Times, is attempting to set health policy. It's like, no, they are safety. They're a safety agency, not a health policy agency, and so they are swimming outside of their lane. And so the idea of using OSHA to basically tell private companies who have 100 or more employees that they have to adopt this policy is kind of outrageous. And I'm not talking about the merits. I'm vaccinated. I tell all of my friends to get vaccinated. Rachel, you don't have to get vaccinated because you didn't get vaccinated. You caught COVID, so you have developed.
And I would get COVID even if I had been vaccinated, because we're all going to get it.
Well, I'm vaccinated. I'm double vaccinated. I'm boosted. I haven't gotten it. I'm never going to get it.
I know your life, and you come in enough contact with people, Ralph. You post photos of you going places around people every day on Facebook. So yeah. I know you're going to get it.
But I'm vaccinated, so I'm going to be okay. So the point here is, but it's not Uncle Sam's job to tell private companies they have no authority to do this. And for Brnovich to stand up for the dignity of the private sector and the dignity of the states and tell the federal government that it is out of line. It might be a good thing. I think so. Might be a bad thing. You think so. Vaccination. Okay. But the overbearing use of state power through this administrative agency, through this bureaucracy, in order to force it through, when even Biden, who I'm smelling a whiff of desperation from Biden on this. And I think that's what's really going on. I think he's politicizing the pandemic because his approval ratings are hurtling down. And instead of doing the right things to bring them back up again, there's a funny scene from Yes Minister. I don't know if you know the book or if you know the BBC series, Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. It's actually the funniest and most knowing riff on how government really works. And if you've never read Yes Minister and you want to have if you want to split your side laughing, go to Amazon and buy Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, the companion volume, and read it. There's one scene in which the politicians and the bureaucrats are sitting around saying, this is unacceptable. We must do something. This is something. Therefore, we must do it. And so, yes, exactly.
Convince me to watch it now.
Well, I know, but there's a lot of lulls in there, and you don't need to watch it, but you would enjoy it, and so would our viewers. I recommend the book is even funnier. The books are even funnier than the BBC series, of which I've only seen a few episodes, but it's really quite hilarious. But it's not hilarious when the President of the United States is floundering around looking to do things that make him look like he's being effective, since he's being. I'm sad to say this, Rachel, I've been the most encouraging columnist at Newsmax, which doesn't give me much competition in terms of rooting Joe Biden on, wanting him to succeed, because I want America to succeed. And he's a factor in that. I've been giving him great advice, and somebody in the West Wing keeps intercepting my columns because he's not doing anything that I tell him to. But
and your advice is actually brilliant, and he actually would be more popular if he would listen to you. And I hate you giving away these great secrets to him, but you know what? He is being pulled too much by the left wing, so he's not. Right. And he wants to make a legacy for himself, but he doesn't realize that this vaccine mandate on private employers is going to be a horrible mandate, and he's going to go down worse than Jimmy Carter. And let me just clarify one thing. I'm not anti-vaccine. I am pro people making their own decisions. So if you are an obese person over, 70 or 80, maybe you should consider getting the vaccine, because maybe the benefits versus the negatives, if you have to go into the hospital, you're going to have less of a hard time if you have those factors. But for perfectly healthy athletes to be taking the vaccine, the risks to them are probably not worth it. And so I commend all those athletes who are standing up against it.
No, they're being irresponsible, and they should.
They're allowed to stand up for Black Lives Matter. Why can't they stand up for this?
I stand up for Black Lives Matter, and I can stand up for this too. So they're not inconsistent. I'm totally pro-vax. Okay. And so there. That said, Brnovich is in the right on this, in challenging the federal government. There's an old saying: you have to do the right thing, but you also have to do the thing right. Okay, they are not doing the thing right by attempting to force employers to demand that their employees get vaccinated or get fired. They have no authority to do that. It is not a constructive thing to do. They should be using persuasion. They should not be using coercion in order to get people like you, Rachel, to do the right thing and get vaccinated.
Why would I need to get vaccinated now that I've already had COVID? My antibodies are much stronger than somebody who has just had the vaccine.
Right. You don't need it now, but thank goodness we didn't lose you. I would miss you very much.
I have great health. I was never in any danger of going into the hospital. So it made absolutely no sense to me. And looking back, I am glad I got it when I did. Like, I've literally written about how, it can put you out in bed for a week, and you're going to ruin some special activity that you had planned based on getting it. And so since we all know we're going to get it, people putting off, getting it is not necessarily helping them. But whatever, again.
Whatever's, look, I'm never going to get it because I'm double vaccinated and boosted. So you can, I've done the right thing.
It's going to wear off. You're going to get it. The only people who aren't going to get it are if you are in a very sheltered nursing home, which I hope people over 80 who are obese are in some very sheltered environment, because they definitely don't want to get COVID. So I pray that those people are able to be sheltered enough, because that's the only way they're going to avoid getting it.
Or you pray that they get vaccinated. At last, we agree on something. Okay, Rachel, and we also agree that Brnovich is a stand-up guy. He's got moral courage. He is no namby-pamby. He's willing to go out there and fight for our constitutional rights and to fight against an oppressive federal government. And so good on Mark for stepping up to the plate. Looks like he's going to win. And my only criticism of him is I think he should look up Vanna White and try to buy a couple more vowels.
He's foul challenged.
Brnovich is a vowel challenge me.
One of his other lawsuits was against the city of Tucson for its mandate of city employees. And after he got involved there, or I think he just issued a legal opinion, they did back off on the mandate. So I don't know where that's at right now. That might be in litigation, but that's another one he's jumped out at. And Arizona, as you may know, a few days ago, we had over 50,000 so-called breakthrough cases. It's skyrocketing. Like I said, everybody's going to get it. And this is one of the things that, Brnovich cited in his, lawsuit against the Biden administration is the huge, rate of breakthrough cases at this time. The fact that the vaccines are wearing off. We know this now.
Okay, by the way, Rachel, you're drifting and you're going to get us banned. Properly, appropriately banned. The fact is that
we're thought criminals. Of course we're going to get banned.
I just hope they ban us really loudly because it'll be really good for our.
That last video that got banned, we were over 1,000 views on Rumble last I checked.
Okay, well,
not millions, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. Look, the fact is that these so-called breakthrough cases, okay, they're much milder for people who have been vaccinated than for people who have not. And so, yes, might I get it? Sure. But it's going to be like a mild flu for a day or two instead of landing me in the hospital and killing me off. And I think that's really much preferable. So I say, get vaccinated.
Well, by milder, if it means you're not going to go to the hospital and you're, a person who's susceptible, fine. Okay, I've never said that people who are obese and old shouldn't get the vaccine. But for those of us who are healthy, we're going to have a mild case of COVID. That's it. So we'll move on.
You know me from my column at Newsmax this week. I'm the Goldilocks government guy. Okay, not too hot, not too cold, just center right.
What happened to the most wanted, most far-right conservative? What's that description you always use?
I am the second most conservative, according to the Washington Post's humor columnist, Gene Weingartner. I am the second most conservative man in the world, and I'm proud of it. Okay,
then you can't be center-right moderate and then be the second.
I'm not center-right moderate. I'm the second most conservative man in the world. What I want, the American people clearly, as I analyze in my column, want a moderately center-right government because that's what they keep voting for. And I reanalyzed, as I did after Election Day 2020, how the Democrats nominated the least left wing of their candidates. Joe Biden, he hasn't been governing the way he was campaigning. Oh, Joe, what happened to you? Bring back Joe, the conservative Joe of the campaign trail. Where have you gone, Joe Biden? A nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Woo, woo, woo. So, and then the progressives, were fantasizing about a huge blue wave where they were going to take a massive control of the House and
dream on.
Dream on. And instead, they lost 13 seats instead of gaining their fantasy 15 seats in the House. And instead of taking a majority in the Senate, thanks to Donald Trump's intervention in Georgia, where he messed up our opportunity to pick up one or two of those seats and keep our Senate majority, which we will get back, but they split the Senate 50-50, giving Joe Manchin and the divine Kirsten Sinema, your U.S. Senator, the ability to stymie their ability to go on the reconciliation orgy of taxing, borrowing, and spending. So that's what happened in 2020. There was no big blue wave. We stymied them. And best of all, they were counting the number of state legislatures they were going to take care of. And they were bragging that when they took over these 20 state legislatures, they were going to gerrymander us out of power. After whining about how we were such bad people for gerrymandering, they were crowing about how they were going to gerrymander. Their gerrymandering good, our gerrymandering bad. And what happened? We took 20 states and they were having meltdowns in their media, daily costs and stuff like that, calling it absolutely catastrophic, which from their point of view, thank God it was. From our point of view, we're going to be able to lock in our the center-right philosophy of governance, whether it's from Republicans or whether it's from moderate Democrats. There's a famous quote from a former congressman, a Democrat from South Carolina, L. Mendel Rivers, who used to say, "There is no education in the second kick of a mule." And so you would think that they would have learned in 2020 if they had moved too far left. And what they did was, oh no, we didn't move far enough left fast enough. And in 2021, we, the voters, the pesky voters, administered the second kick of the mule by electing Glenn Youngkin as governor of Virginia. Look, Biden took Virginia by 10 points. Youngkin, it was a 12-point shift to Youngkin. And we also, of course, took the lieutenant governor, a black woman, a black gun-toting woman conservative as Republican, as lieutenant governor in Virginia.
And we had them ignored, I might point out.
Well, I made a point of it, but yes.
So thank you for you pointing that out. Yeah.
Right. And we elected a Republican Hispanic as Attorney General in Virginia. And we took control of the Virginia Assembly, including 2 assembly seats that had been gerrymandered to go to black women Democrats. And we took those 2 seats with black women Republicans. So,
you know, those last 2 things, Ralph, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that the Attorney General that got elected in Virginia was Hispanic until you just told me. And you know how, involved I am politically. This is how bad it is. If you're a minority conservative, they ignore you. And I had one observation I wanted to make, and then I had 3 points about your article I wanted to make. First, my observation was, since you pointed out that Democrats did very poorly in the House in 2020, that's why a lot of Republicans believe there was voter fraud when it came to Trump. Now, my 3 observations I wanted to make about your article, I got one praise and then 2 things I want to quibble with you on. I think the best part about your column, and this is why I urge our viewers to read it, is you say the left is going to stupidly think the problem is they need to move to the left more in 2022. And oh my gosh, you nailed it. That's going to kill them. And then
we're gonna pick up 40 seats in the House, maybe even 60, but I don't want people quoting back to me saying I predicted 60, and when we only get 40, saying, oh, they're spinning it. No, you didn't do nearly as well as you thought you would. We're going to pick up a majority of seats in the House, and that because the progressives keep pushing the Democrats further and further left, and the Democrats, for reasons that are really unclear to me, are going along with it.
So the issues I quibbled with you on were you seem to want Joe Manchin for president, and I strongly disagree with that. And secondly, you said ballot integrity is a bad issue for Republicans, and I completely disagree. That seems to be the most important issue that Republicans view nowadays. They think what happened to Trump was unfair.
I say in my column, to be fair to me, I consider the so-called ballot integrity and the Republicans and the so-called voter suppression of the Democrats to be silly. This is a concocted issue that is only that is being weaponized for the purpose of political skirmishing. The American people want results. They want prosperity. They want economic growth. They want security. They want justice. They want dignity. All this, ballot security, ballot integrity stuff is just a bender by political junkies like you. It's not a voter issue, and I can prove it because Youngkin won, number one, and number 2, he won by doing it right in a way that Trump did not and could have. Youngkin had 500 lawyers in 500 polling places that were vulnerable to electoral tampering.
That's ballot integrity measure. That's
you don't need to
exactly what is.
You don't need to shut down.
My point.
Yes, but that's not big government ballot integrity. That's not shutting down, absentee voting and stuff like that. You just have to monitor the situation. And by the way, if Trump had done this and he had 4 years to set it up, he could have had 50,000 lawyers in every polling place in the country. just by asking for it.
Well, you're disagreeing on methodology. You're just disagreeing with me on how we could, combat ballot integrity issues. You're not saying overall that it's bad to have, more secure elections.
I'm not against more secure elections, but I watch what the Republicans are doing, and I watch what the Democrats are doing, and I chuckle, because they're both trying to game the system in ways. The Republicans are trying to put in rules in the name of ballot integrity that are designed specifically to make it a little harder for Democratic-leaning voters to vote. And
you don't believe that.
And the Democrats are trying to and fail. And by the way, the Republicans are succeeding at this. The Democrats are trying to maneuver to put in rules that make it a little bit easier for Democratic-leaning voters to vote. It's just like, oh man, this has been going on since 1780, 1791, okay, or maybe 1795. And it's kind of like it's overblown. Well, the American people they want peace and prosperity and dignity and security. And anybody who's got a good idea how to do that, like Youngkin, okay, he campaigned on great issues: prosperity, economic growth, repealing the grocery sales tax, and respecting the constitutional 14th Amendment right of parents to direct the upbringing and education of their children. Okay, he picked two great issues. He campaigned very elegantly. He was his own man. He neither repudiated nor wrapped himself around the former president. And he made sure that he put in his volunteers to make sure that there were eyes on the polling places to eliminate any kind of ballot tampering without trying to jigger the rules in ways that would have advantaged Republicans. It was just straight up real deal integrity.
Well, okay, I agree with you.
So let me just say, I was so impressed that I've shifted my endorsement for president in 2024 from Joe Manchin to Glenn Youngkin. Youngkin for president 2024, Manchin for vice president. Okay,
I don't know enough about Manchin to know that he's a true principled conservative or not. I'm going to have to, withhold judgment on who I want at this point for 2024. But I will say this: in a perfect world, if we all had as much money as, millionaire or billionaire Youngkin, yes, we would put people in all these polling places and have them observe. That is a perfect solution.
He used volunteers, Rachel, and he's not a billionaire. He's probably, worth 10 or 20 million dollars, which is upper middle class. I aspire to that. Okay, but he didn't buy a bunch of lawyers to go in the polling places. He put out the word, and lots of lawyers who were supporting him found this to be a very congenial way to support him and to earn a little bit of political credit, which never hurts.
Have you ever tried to round up lawyers for free pro bono work? It's like herding cats. But
I've seen it. I've seen it.
It was like a perfect storm. Everything came together to give Youngkin then these free lawyers who volunteered all this time. But I couldn't round up one free one at a time.
Not that hard. Cuccinelli did it when he ran too. Okay, and I, as a lawyer, have been rounded up from time to time to assist when requested. I'm like, hey, let's go, let's do it. I've seen this done. The Republicans did it in Bush versus Gore in Florida. Hundreds, maybe thousands of lawyers volunteered, many of them friends of mine, to go make sure that Al Gore did not use hanging chads to steal the election. So I'm just saying, there are, in addition to doing the right thing, you have to do the thing right, and Youngkin did it right.
Well, we can both agree that that would be an optimal solution. But granted, in 2022, when you have more than two significant races, because all we had was the New Jersey races and the Virginia races, so all these lawyers all over the country were able to fly and pay attention in Virginia.
No. They didn't come from all over the country. They came from Virginia. There are a lot of lawyers in Virginia. Okay, you're fantasizing. I love that about you.
There are a lot of lawyers in Virginia because this is the DC area. But when you've got 50 elections going on around the state, and you don't have all the DC lawyers around in like Idaho. I mean,
I know, but most states are rigged for Republicans, so we don't have to cover them. We can focus in on, and some of the states are rigged for the Democrats. We don't have to cover them too. We just need to cover the 10 swing states. You know this. You're a political insider. I don't need to teach you this. This is very, very easily done. You just need some.
Okay, well, when 2022 comes around after the election,
2022
you can totally say, Rachel, you were an idiot if all these elections have a couple hundred lawyers show up at every state that needs them. If they show up, you can just laugh and say, ha ha, Rachel, you were wrong. You were too negative and too skeptical. But
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, it's like herding cats to get that many lawyers to show up.
Yeah, you're a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. I know about. I've been herded. Okay, and I totally get it. But you know what? It's just not that hard, and it's just not that. We're gonna look. They can tamper with the ballots all they want in 2022. We're gonna swamp them. Okay, and if they keep going in the same direction that they're going right now, further and further left, let me let our viewers in on a big insider political secret. The earth is flat, and all of these Democrats are going to fall off the left edge of the earth and end up on the back of the turtle that's holding it up if they don't pull the emergency cord pretty quick, because they are moving so far left that it may be not, they may end up just holding a big going after we swamp them, take the House. We might even pick up one or two off-base senators, take the Senate back. But the real yummy thing is in 2024, when, according to David Shore, the Democrats lead technician and prognosticator, and he's saying if they keep doing what they're doing, which they are, we are going to pick up 7 Republican seats in 2024, which will give President Youngkin, or President Brnovich, as the case may be, a veto-proof majority with a huge House majority, a veto-proof majority in the Senate and the White House. I just hope that the Republicans, and that's what I call in my column, by the way, the third and the fourth kick of the mule, that's where the education is. Since they didn't get the first kick in 2021 and moved to the center, they didn't get the second kick in 2021 and moved to the center. Since they keep moving far left, the voters, the Republican Party is the stupid party. They're not getting this, but we, the voters, are going to apply the third kick of the mule in 2022 and push the House back to the center. Bye-bye, Nancy Pelosi. We barely knew you. And then in 2024, we're going to take back the United States Senate, as well as taking about the White House, the fourth kick of the mule. And I'm just not sure there will be enough Democrats left to matter at that point. So it may not be necessary for them to get the point. They may go the way of the Whigs.
That is a great way to end this. So I let you have the last word, Ralph, and everybody.
It's the first time for everything, Rachel. Thank you.
Tune in next week to the Thought Criminals.